In my last video, I took the Ethan Allen Express Amtrak train from New York City Penn Station all the way up to Vermont to do a little ice fishing trip for the weekend. And this was the first time that I also tried out the Leica Q3 43. Where you pulling that to? This way. Now, I've used the Leica Q system before, and my favorite camera is actually the Q2 monochrome. But this was the first time using a 43mm lens on the Q system. Super random moment, but the 61 megapixels on the Q3 43 really came in handy when bald eagle randomly flew over us.
Yeah, eagle.
Good call out.
I was hoping you'd see something out here.
The Q3 43's fixed 43mm lens meant that I had to work the scene differently. I always took advantage of the original Q3's 28mm lens, but having a little bit more zoomed in lens really made me change how I was photographing. One of the first straps goes off. And we were lucky enough to catch a 20+ inch salmon that we decided to keep for dinner that night. And my turn catching my trout did not go smoothly, but luckily it was a little catch and release.
Thank you. I'm editing out all that footage.
First time ice fishing, thought it went pretty well. We grabbed a little coffee at a diner and decided to try ice fishing again later in the day. Now this try was pretty crazy. I closed my eyes for a quick nap, and it went from sunny to this. A crazy winter storm was passing by, and the snow was going horizontal before the scene cleared out, and this beautiful clouds and sunset appeared. It almost looked like an aurora was happening at the horizon. So we set out for a little bit of evening ice fishing, maybe for only 30 minutes or so, just try to catch something last minute. The sensor and lens on the Q3 43 was really able to get some decent shots here. And after only an hour or so, we decided to call it a day and cook the salmon that we had caught earlier. Eric just so happens to be an amazing chef, so had some nice fried fish and some cabbage and a soup. All in all, an amazing dinner. What an awesome way to finish off the weekend. Okay, well, that wraps up my weekend in Vermont with the Leica Q3 43. This is definitely not a review, at least for my impressions with the Q3 43. I totally understand why a lot of Q shooters love the 43 focal length over the 28. I think 43 surprisingly was like not too wide and also not too punched in. The lens doesn't really feel that much different in size. the apochromatic design of this lens is amazing. Some of the quirks that I've noticed about this camera is that the mechanical shutter goes up to 1/2000th of a second, and you can actually use a flash up to that speed, which is pretty crazy. But right after that is when the electronic shutter kicks in. And the electronic shutter also kicks in after, I think, 5 frames per second continuous shooting. And when the electronic shutter kicks in, the sensor readout speed is too slow to keep up with the shutter. So from maybe what you've seen online is that the jello effect from a lot of the photos once you're starting going to the electronic shutter higher speeds kind of renders the photos unusable. And that's what I encountered. So if you're doing any quick panning or you got really fast action sports, maybe your kids are running around the yard, I don't know if the electronic shutter can keep up with, or the sensor can really keep up with the shutter speed. So my advice, if you're a new shooter, is to default to the mechanical shutter. I mean, 1/2000th second is more than enough. And typically I would recommend using an ND filter, but the problem with this is that the stock lens hood that comes with this camera is too shallow. And then when you're opting for the macro function of this lens, I don't know if you could see it on here, the glass actually moves forward so that when you actually have the lens hood on, there's actually even less space for a filter on here. So my advice is that if you really like using filters, you need like an orange filter for black and white, or just a variable ND filter to compensate for the leaf shutter design of the mechanical shutter capping out at 1/2000th of a second. Get a third-party lens hood. I know Polar Pro in the past has made something where the lens hood actually flips up so you can actually twist the filter. But otherwise, stock lens hood, I wouldn't recommend if you're trying to use filters. In terms of the autofocus, for me, the autofocus continuous is entirely unusable. The lens motors are seizing up from what it seems like, and it's just jittering back and forth. The autofocus single point AFS is perfectly fine. I think that's what 98% of your autofocus mode should be. Otherwise, it was relatively good. It's definitely nothing like a Sony or a high-end Nikon or a Canon, but for a Leica Q, it's definitely taken leaps and bounds, especially since after using the SL2S system. If you want to see that review, I thought the subject detection on the back of the camera would show me it was in focus, but it wouldn't necessarily get that plane of focus. But on the Leica Q3 it was perfect. I never had any moments where I was really griping about the autofocus. I hope I didn't sound or look too amateur using the Q3, but it was a ton of fun. It was nice just to one-hand this camera, not worry too much, be able to punch in with the 60 megapixel design and then be able to change the crop later. If you have any advice about the Q3, how to use it best, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to know. Definitely an amateur in terms of using the Q3. So thanks for watching. Bye.